Hey there everyone, welcome back. I am Pseudo. Today we're going to be checking out this balance preview. They got their countdown going, you can see on screen. If you didn't know, they're going to be previewing the updates for the weapons that we got this wonderful post on, as well as some balance stuff that's dropping in March. I think I'm going to mute this and we can get some hype music going, and we'll get back to Guild Wars in just a second. But yeah, happy Friday everyone. Hopefully yours is going amazing, and I will be providing commentary for this, so welcome back. I will try to keep it to a minimum. I will try to pause this as little as I can. If you would like to check out the raw video feed for yourself, I will put it in chat as well as in the description, so you can check that out without my voice over it, so don't worry about that. But this is a commentary stream, so if you are here for the discussion, hop in, check it out. If not, go to that. Just hop into Twitch, and hopefully the balance preview will be awesome. If you didn't know what's going on, I've made some predictions of my own. I posted one on our community post the other day. Hey Ravage, what's up? Welcome back. They posted this wonderful little blog post updating us on like the status of each weapon. Ranger maces, well received. Thief axes, kinda meh. Warrior staff, quite good. They're even changing how one of the targeting skills on it works on the charge, as well as giving it a little bit more adrenaline. Kind of cool. Revenant, Scepter, very strong. Reworking a couple of the skills. I still think the 360 AoE is nuts, but we'll see how that actually plays in gameplay. Like, you know, it's gonna be crazy. It should be on Twitch as well, Kashima. Is it not? It says it's streaming. I can check. Mesmer rifle, kind of meh, but hopefully they're tweaking it up. Twitch should be working. Check my own channel. Twitch is working. No, it's okay. It may have just taken a second. All good. Twitch will have a little bit of a less of a delay, so if you'd rather have that, head on over there. Let's full screen this bad boy. But yeah, exciting stuff. Elementalist pistol. They're even buffing the animations. Morning, Xiaowang. Welcome back. Hopefully your Friday is awesome, or whatever it is there. Guardian, dual pistols, kind of just getting a buff on jurisdiction. This is a quick recap. Yeah, I do too, honestly, Kashima. I don't want to push people to one platform or the other because I know they have their preference. I definitely prefer watching on YouTube, but that's mostly when I'm catching VODs. I will try to answer chat as much as I can, but also this is a commentary stream, so I'll be like providing light commentary on the video, and I don't want to talk over Cal and Roy and Taylor too much. Because I know people are mostly here for them and not me, which is fair. Necromancer swords. Strong showing. They're adjusting them to not be ground-based projectiles. Maybe we can have that for other classes, you know, like that Sworn to a Blade class I've heard so much about in the future. Engineer shortbow, almost complete rework. Good morning, Gibbs. Welcome back. And yeah, we shall see. Horizontal fire modes from DMC Gunslinger. They could like buff the animations just when you use double pistols, right? That'd be kind of cool, and then like change them when you have single ones. So you can type. Nice. You can actually like hear and have decent responses. How much time we got? We got 1 minute 57, which is just enough time to run through this. So I will slow the music down. We'll get into Guild Wars mode and go from here. So let's rock, chat. A little bit of a recap for those who haven't seen these trailers already. Yeah, I'm largely excited. I think these are going to be good changes. I'm more excited to see what they're going to preview in the balance patch for March and to hear when it's coming out, if they give us a date. Always cautiously optimistic for Bladesworn changes in the future, but I have my own little predictions of my own. I put one of them on the community post. I have a feeling they're going to be giving Bladesworn back its F1, the regular burst skills. I don't really know that that's going to do that much for Bladesworn in the long run, but hopefully I'm wrong, and I'm open to being wrong on all of this, so we shall, we'll see how that goes. Hey, Rafe, what's up? I'm excited that you can finally catch one as well. That's sweet, dude. Maybe I could stream in the middle of the day if that works for a different time zone. That'd be a lot easier than me trying to stream at like 5 in the morning or something. Yeah, the weirdest... I guess the Arctic outfit is because he's in Bitterfrost Frontier. Very odd. Oh yeah, huge copium on the Bladesworn stuff, but I honestly do think that they're gonna... I've been wrong, or I've been sadly right about all of the changes for Bladesworn that they've done, Eric. what's up, Hugo? That they've done in the past where there was like, oh, they're gonna take Daring Dragon away, and then they did that, and then oh, they're gonna, do all this other stuff. Like nerf Dragon Trigger 2, and then they did that, and it's like they keep doing it in the worst possible way, in my opinion. Again, this is just my experience after playing like 1,000 hours of the class, so we'll see. I'm again cautiously optimistic. I'm not a game designer, so we shall see what goes there. I'm getting some weird pop in of their audio chat. We're gonna refresh this page and see if this will fix it. We'll begin soon. There they are. Let's go.
Right. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of 2 Sweatshirts and 1 T-shirt. My name is Roy Marks, and I'm joined today by none other than Cal CMC Cohen and Taylor Trigg Brooks. Gentlemen, hope you're doing well today. How goes it?
Wait, I can't read our titles. Can you say what the titles are right now?
Nope.
Okay, unfortunate. Yeah, well, we're back. It's been a while. When was the last stream? It was like last year, right?
Yeah, last year wasn't that long ago, to be fair,
but
it's been a little bit.
We didn't do a stream for January.
A lot of hair back,
as we mentioned in the blog post or the forum post at the time. It was like just a bunch of small changes. I don't think anyone wants to, sit in the chat and watch us read, hey, we nerfed this number because it's too high, and we increased this number because it's too low.
I do that.
Maybe they do. So feel free to give that feedback as part of this stream feedback.
Taylor, how are you today?
Doing pretty good. Already couldn't hear Cal for like 5 seconds.
Nice.
That's boding well.
Nice.
Ready to do this stream.
So something on your guys' end, surely not mine.
Cal's hair's grown back.
Everything I do is
and Taylor's hair has not changed.
I'm getting outside information that there's a typo in one of the titles.
Well, fortunately, we're going to swap over to the PowerPoint notes and not worry about that typo. So that's
good.
Whoever set those up
getting
must have
sidetracked
been in a rush
immediately.
or
It's
something.
good.
Anyways, we are going to be talking about not only the balance preview notes for the next upcoming balance patch in March, but we also are going to be talking about the updates we've been doing for the QR2 weapons.
What order,
there was a blog post released this week that went over that, but we'll be showing off a couple of them and talking about them a little bit more today on the stream. Very, very well-written blog post, if I do say so myself. We haven't yet figured out who wrote it, but maybe they'll show up at some point.
Well, they may have introduced themselves in the blog post.
Pretty good wordsmith, if anyone.
Obviously, I'll take credit for assigning the task to Taylor, but he may have to write more blogs in the future because he did
solid
too good of a
delegation.
job. Unfortunate.
Indeed. As always, the post, the forum post, will be coming up after the end of the stream with all of the notes that you'll be seeing here today. And then also at the end of the stream, or after this stream, I should say, we'll actually be heading over to be doing a little bit of a podcast on twitch.tv/GW2. It's one of our ArenaNet partners who will be discussing the QR2 weapon updates with us a little bit after this stream ends. So make sure to check that out. Other than that, I guess we can just jump right into it.
All right,
that sounds good to you guys. All right, let's do it. What a winning endorsement from Cal. We're going to start off with Elementalist.
Let's go.
And this is, of course, going to be Cal's realm. So we got a
awesome.
couple sword
They're doing the
improvements.
balance
We've got a arcane skills rework and some support tempest heal buffs, which Cal will be talking about here.
Yes, obviously starting with the most important sword buff to Water Trident. But, who organized these notes as well? Oh, I forgot to say something, actually, at the start of the stream that I was going to say.
Oh, good.
So we'll get into these notes in a second.
I didn't say anything.
I just feel obligated to say that we get this feedback basically every time. I see it on social media every time. But Roy and I do not hate each other, and all of the people on this call are actually really good friends.
We've said this every stream.
And
there's two,
there might be a little bit of playful ribbing.
We're getting the weapons at the end of the month, and then they're getting the balance patch in March.
But believe it or not,
I'm forced to be here.
There's no bad blood on this stream.
We like to have fun. We like to have fun here.
There might be like some feigned outrage just for comedic value, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Oh my God, Cal being serious, I can't deal with it. He's not trolling. I don't know what to do right now.
I can't believe Roy and Cal just hate each other so much, and they keep doing this.
The problem is that I'm extremely sarcastic, and Cal is extremely dry, and so I think those two clash, and seems like But yeah,
right,
okay.
Anyway,
that was great.
Let's go. Come on, guys.
Yes.
Thanks so much for that.
That was not planned at all, of course.
Anyways, whoa, notes we haven't seen before.
Yes, so Water Trident getting a nice buff.
Caloric Leap is a good skill.
Fresh air,
That's the
especially Catalyst, was something that was
movement skill
fairly
that
dominant
also,
for a while.
I believe, dazes when it
we
hits
brought it down
in
a
World
bit.
versus World.
It's maybe a little
PvP.
bit under where we'd like to see
Caloric
right
Leap,
now, so a little buff to what I was trying to see if that brings it back to where we want it to be.
Can you tell? I mean, they're
we
leading
do
off
have
with
a
Weaver, which
few,
isn't fair, but Cal,
more
loves
minor
Weaver.
improvements to Sword,
Can you
but they
tell?
are hopefully going to be somewhat impactful. We see Earth and Vortex getting a slight cooldown reduction, so more evasion there. A little bit extra mobility with the Polaric Leap change. Rust Frenzy being able to move, maybe just a lot more opportunity to strike your enemies with a skill that is pretty powerful. A lot of bleeding, a lot of damage on that skill.
Absolutely. We move into the arcane stuff.
That's
we've made
cool.
some changes to
Additional
arcane
initiatives.
skills.
That's actually really
this
neat.
is something that's kind of been on our backlog for a while because
Yes.
we don't feel that arcane skills have like the best identity as like, hey, these are all skills that are just instant and two of them do damage in very similar ways. One of them is projectile, one of them is an AoE. But we wanted to get a little bit more
Arcane Wave is a
different
movement
feeling
skill.
to some of the arcane skills and really
Holy
flesh
shit.
out the skill types. So we're going to see some changes to the skills. We're going to see
Holy
some changes
God.
to the traits.
Arcane Wave is an ammunition skill as
the big
well.
note here is probably the change to Arcane Wave. Instead of just being like, a long range, large circle.
My God, more mobility for Ellie.
It
Jesus.
is now going to actually be a leap. So you're going to leap similar to like the
and it's probably leap
animation,
finisher,
smash
which means
some
all the
elements, some
auras.
arcane energy into
that's...
the ground.
Oh my
and
God.
do some damage, do some daze. This gives us a chance to, bump up the
Daze?
damage a little bit more.
Holy
increase
shit.
The impact of this skill because it is
Dude,
now going to
Maddie,
have a cast
now's
time,
your
and it's going to
time.
have that counterplay that it currently doesn't have. Brilliant's going to get a
What's
little
the
bit of extra
counterplay?
healing
Not
if
get
you finish
hit?
a combo with it. Doesn't care what combo. So you finish a fire field, get a little extra healing. Seems cool.
I mean, Ellie was first.
Arcane
so we'll see.
Power. We've retooled this a little bit. It's not going to do the thing where it shares Arcane Power anymore, but it's also not going to have its ferocity bonus tied to the critical hit stacks. It was just a really weird interaction where each time you hit, you would just deal less and less bonus damage. So now it's just going to give you a flat ferocity bonus and then give you
Arcane Shield gives
stability,
more stability for Ellie.
Ferocity bonus.
Arcane Wave automatically immobilizes.
Moving into the reworked Elemental
Excuse
Surge,
me.
just changing back to Arcane Lightning. That was kind
Is
of
this
a
with the trait?
disconnect
This
when
must
traits
be
got
with the
merged
trait.
together,
Maybe
and
not.
the ferocity bonus is called Arcane Lightning, and the trait is called Elemental Surge, and it's very confusing. Not really confusing, but it's not doing anything.
So this is what Elemental
elements
Surge
related
does, I'm
anymore,
assuming.
So we just took the name Arcane Lightning.
Wow, that's
Still
Arcane
going to give you
Wave
the
dazes
ferocity bonus,
and
but now it's just going
immobilizes
to
now.
empower each of the arcane
Dude,
skills
I don't
individually
know
instead
what
of
is
having the
with them
same
with putting
condition bonus that's based on your attunement.
daze
This
and
is something that
immobilize
didn't
on
necessarily feel like it made
movement
as much
AoE
sense
skills.
with like Brilliance and Shield, especially the defensive ones. But also the instant emob was very unhealthy and it didn't get used a whole lot, but every time we saw it, it's like, this is not something we actually want in the game. So now that's going to be specifically tied to the new Arcane Wave, which has the cast time. Still going to have that emob. Blast is going to have the blind. Arcane Power going to give you some extra stacks of that buff. Arcane Brilliance will give you protection, and the big one here, Arcane Shield, will give you some stability when you use it if you have this trait equipped.
Yeah.
Arcane Wave
we
thing
see
is
a lot of
nuts.
these skills, with these reworks kind of becoming more present in the meta? Did we see some of these skills already being present in the meta? Is this just something we're going to keep an eye on now that a lot of these skills got adjustments?
Yeah, we see Arcane Blast in PvE just for the damage a lot, and Arcane Shield gets some play in competitive modes already. I'd expect Arcane Wave to be a little more
I wonder
exciting.
if minor
coming out of this
Arcane
change with the,
Shield
the
gets stability.
movement aspect, the daze, maybe the emob if you go for the trait. It's obviously hard to take that trait when you're competing with a base of Arcana, but maybe there's a cool build to place like a bunch of arcane skills and really wants that trait. Arcane Brilliance, maybe it's finally there. Like, this has always been a pretty low cooldown heal. It's obviously not Signet of Restoration, but now it's going to give you like even more healing on top if you finish a combo. So if you finish a water field with this, even if you don't hit anyone, that's going to be a pretty decent heal. And if you have the trait, it'll give you some prod as well. So, hopefully, it's always hopefully, because it's hard to guarantee anything unless we made the numbers insane for the sake of making them insane, which we don't want to do.
I feel that way about a lot of the Mesmer buffs when they get the
wraps up
Maddie.
the arcane work there.
Yep, so we got a couple other changes here for poorly traits. One with air is something we nerfed a long time ago in PvP, specifically for the fresh air build, because obviously you get a lot more triggers of this when you have fresh air equipped. We're basically reverting the nerf for non-fresh
Just
air
PvP,
builds. So
not
Lightning
World versus
Rod,
World.
you're taking Bolt to the
Interesting.
Heart, you'll now get the old full version of one with air super speed duration.
It's
And fresh
interesting.
air will still have the reduced duration.
I mean, cool.
And a nice little bump to outgoing healing modifier in the water trait line, 15 to 20. Just give a little extra healing, mostly to support Tempest
I look
builds.
forward to never being able to catch Weavers in PvP.
And speaking of that, Taylor, if you want to talk a little bit about the Tempest buffs we've got here, as well as the Weaver buff.
Yeah. Tempest is
change?
getting some adjustments. So the big one you're going to see here is Lucid Singularity is no longer going to give alacrity in competitive
Yeah,
modes. This
interesting.
is something you're going to see often through these notes. Back last year in
Fuck
the
Dragon
June patch,
Dragon!
we increased alacrity application to a lot of classes, and it made its way into competitive modes. And especially for World vs. World, we're not really happy to see the state of that boon in that game mode. It's kind of gotten out of control. We don't want it to be something that's so easily achieved. And so you're going to see it being taken away from a lot of classes that got it then. But as for other parts of this,
Hang on.
Wash
Where's
the Pain
the
Away is
GIF?
getting
Hold
some
on.
usability improvements to match other healing, like ally heal
Sorry.
skills, and just a bump up to Elemental Bastion and World v. World, kind of to help make up for Lucid Singularity losing its strength. We don't expect these changes to be like insane for Tempest, but we do want to give it a
To
nudge
be
in
fair,
right
the
direction.
amount of alacrity
And
that
lastly
Tempest
here we see
specifically had
bolstered
in World
elements,
vs. World was the
is
PvE
becoming
value.
protection instead of barrier to
and
be a
it was
more active
insane.
defense option.
That was one of the first things I
hopefully,
queued in on, and I was like, this is
absorb
nuts.
more damage than the barrier would have if you used it in the right place.
Absolutely. Very
This
cool.
is good.
You
I
kinda
actually
mentioned a
really
little
like
bit
this,
that,
even if Blades One
this
gets
is more of a
dumpstered again.
nudge for support Tempest. Are we expecting this to sort of put it in a better place in the meta? Are we expecting it to potentially need some more? Again, is it just something we're going to keep an eye on for the future?
Yeah, we're definitely going to keep an eye on it. There are other supports getting adjustments, mostly downward adjustments this patch, and so we want to see how Tempest competes with them, and how
Interesting.
everything shakes
Nerfing
out
other
before we give it
supports, yo.
bigger, buffs.
Makes sense.
If-
All right, it's going to wrap up Elementalist. So we'll be moving on to Engineer, where we're going to see some updates to the Inventions trait line, some Power Hollismith buffs in PvE
Of course,
specifically,
more
and
power.
some kit and
Oh,
weapon
okay,
quality
PvE.
of
Fair
life
enough.
adjustments.
I was about to say, why not
You wanna
more?
Read this first slide.
Oh,
Over the notes
blue
Yeah.
shot.
Let's
Interesting,
see.
interesting,
So
interesting.
Engineer,
Wow, that's a really short cooldown for
kind of
blunderbuss in
eclectic
PvP.
things on this slide. Glue shot
It
good
is
word,
has a
by the way.
1
part of
second
us.
cooldown.
What? Oh, what?
Eclectic. It's a good word.
Eclectic. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Thought you said it was muted.
Like you said, he's a
Taylor's been
wordsmith.
doing a lot of New York Times games, so he's really working on that vocabulary.
That's
Good
true.
for Taylor.
True.
I dig it. I dig it. Good
Glue
on
shot
you, dude.
didn't really land where we wanted it to when we buffed it as part of the whole power offhand pistol thing.
Blue
And
shot's
so
weird
we're
because it's still
increasing the
projectile,
cooldown,
I
but
think.
proportionally increasing the damage. So hopefully it's easier to fit it into a rotation. And 20 seconds is that magic number to proc fireworks, as everyone loves. And then skipping to the bottom, we see some sword reworks. I feel like too much of its power budget was put into the cooldown reset and made it so all you wanted to do was auto attack, so you could get more cooldowns. So we're shifting that off and then just base CDRing some of it. So hopefully you spend less time auto attacking and more time using other skills. And then we see
Said
some slight
CDR.
cooldown shaves for rifle in PvP.
Very cool.
Yeah, just refresh the page if it's behind.
More,
Gibbs.
sort of core NG changes here, mostly aimed at the kits. If you want to keep going,
Yep.
Dylan.
These are all pretty much just quality of life
Interesting. Med
improvements.
Blaster can
Med Blaster,
auto-attack
you can now auto
allies.
attack
I don't know if
allies
there's
with it, like other
any other
healing
skill that does
autos.
that.
Bandage Blast. After we changed it, it was a bit clunky to actually, hit people with it. So we're increasing the hitbox of it, and then the missile velocity and everything. So that should all make the skill feel
These are all
better to
really
use.
good changes so far.
And then Grenade Barrage had a bug
only
where it
ones are
didn't proc
kinda
Relic
nuts.
of Fireworks, and so for power-based engineer builds and PvE, that was kind of annoying. So we fixed it.
Take note, chat. This is also a PvP, World vs. World, and PvE patch. We haven't had
Another
one of those
slide
in
here.
like
This is gonna be some
5 ever.
Inventions reworks. Cal, if you want to talk about these.
Sure. Yep. Definitely some improvements to the invention trait line. There's some traits that aren't super good. And
Resistance
some
on
traits
dodge
that
is
we don't
crazy.
really want to be good.
That's the
Bunker down is one
warrior
of
trait.
those.
If there's an
Trait that we kind of
this
nerfed
second
significantly
point
in the past, especially in competitive modes,
is
to
just the
trigger
warrior
be
thing.
so easy. It's like every time you critically strike, you would do this, which is a bit too free. So we shifted it to be on disable. Any outgoing CC will trigger bunker down now, which gives us a little bit more room to make it more powerful. So reducing
it
the
might
cooldown,
still grant
increasing the
passive
mind
movement
damage,
speed.
increasing the bandage
I
healing.
think it just
Conti
doesn't
cleanse on that
decrease
bandage now.
those
It should be a bit more
conditions
a
that it
bit
had
closer
on
to
it,
where we
Kashima.
like to see like these grandmaster traits, and especially like the gameplay around them.
But if there isn't ever like
Mecha
I mean,
legs also
you
getting
could
a
be
pretty
right as well.
significant rework here. Just getting the resistance on dodge trait that we gave that to warrior in a previous update, and it's definitely feels good with the right value for like these builds that are a little bit looking to be a little bit more tanky, a little bit more defensive. Having access to that resistance on dodge, pretty solid trigger, and Mecha
Resistance
legs
on
is
movement
kind of a trait that
skill
wasn't
is better on
super
Revenant.
useful anymore.
Just
It's kind of a bit dated at this point in time. Automated medical response, kind of similar, where it's another trait where the cooldown is just so radically high because the effect is kind of very powerful but also very passive. We've reworked a lot of those traits in the past, so this is similarly just getting an extra regen trigger to play into like the Grandmaster Miner that cares when you have regen.
Mine spawns at the enemy
Is
player.
Inventions a specialization we were seeing play, and this is kind of just a way to make it feel a little bit better to take, or is this kind of trying to get it more, see more play in different modes?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely see a little bit of inventions. Obviously, like the prot trait.
Inventions is defense, but for NG. If there ever was an indication that NG and Warrior balance similarly, chat, this is it.
We've seen maybe a little bit less of like the bruisery builds that play inventions, and they do exist still. You know, prot hollow somewhere in the mists, I'm sure. But bunker down especially was just like not a trait that saw a lot of play. So we saw this as an avenue to rework that trait and kind of improve the trait line in general.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, here
yeah,
are
it
the
always had a really cool
aforementioned Hollowsmith buffs in PV. Just getting some of those numbers up. Take a quick juggle.
I'm all for them
Nothing too
buffing
crazy.
stuff that people don't use Kashima though. That's
Yeah,
great.
the main-
No matter what class it's on, that's amazing.
The main goal of this is we want to push Power Hollowsmith to take the ECSU, Enhanced Capacity Storage Unit trait, as their Grandmaster instead of the Overheat. And so we're really kind of cranking the bonuses for the 100% heat. So, you know,
Hell yeah.
Exceed skills are what you want to use for that build.
Yeah, that's
Very, very cool.
I don't
Pretty
need to
straightforward.
Say exactly what you said.
Makes sense. A couple more Hollowsmith notes, as well as one for Mechanist, which is a note we've seen in the past, I believe. Potentially. Possibly. Somewhere.
Somewhere. Can't imagine where.
Taylor?
Yeah. So these are kind
Engineer
of going
specialist?
along. These are going along with it, the particle accelerator, and then there's two adaptier traits for Hollowsmith that they worked when you press the F5 to leave Forge, but if you pressed a kit instead, you wouldn't get their bonuses, which is very confusing and not how it should work. So it's working now that when you leave Forge, no matter what way, you're going to get their bonuses. And Mechanical Genius, we wanted to see what happens when we make the penalty not as big. We know that it's
That's some quality
a
of life
minor
stuff.
pain point, and so we're kind of lessening it.
Very good. That'll wrap up our engineer notes. We're going to move on to Guardian, which was
Numbers are just
almost a little
imaginary
bit of a
now,
struggle
Maddie.
because we didn't have Firebrand PvP buffs to talk about this time around.
Wow, you stole my joke. That's
Oh
crazy.
no, I'm kidding. I don't know what I'm talking about. Cal, any thoughts on Firebrand Guardian for this patch?
Nope. Not anymore. Taylor?
Willbender
anyways,
trade
we're gonna be
improvements.
looking at
Let's
some,
go to the
buffs
moon.
to some underutilized utility skills,
Oh
as
my
well as some
God.
core and
Fucking
Willbender trait
Willbender,
improvements
dude.
For Guardian here in this patch. And Cal, why don't you talk about what's on
Feel
this page?
my wrath grants
Sure.
super speed.
Yeah, you know, Feel My Wrath. Maybe it's the new Firebrand. We can buff it every patch. Guardian, obviously, Renewed Focus is a pretty good skill, so it's difficult to take other skills, at least, especially in competitive modes. So Feel My Wrath
Vigorous
is pretty useful to
precision.
give quickness in PV.
Oh
so
my
we are
God.
kind of looking for ways to
Or you're just gonna have like two
give
notes, and one of them's
reasons
gonna be
to play
like,
it. You know,
removed
obviously
it from the
Renewed Focus
game.
always going to be Renewed Focus, but maybe Feel My Wrath, you know, it's going to give quickness, super speed. Is it good enough yet? Probably not, but you know, we can buff it next patch. Yeah, Taylor's shaking his head. You know, probably all shaking her heads. But super speed is like interesting enough that we're like, hey, let's try this out, and see what happens. We'll revisit as needed. A couple
Focus
of
mastery,
minor
that's good.
trait mechanical shufflings. Focus mastery, this is a pretty minor note.
that's really
but,
good to
you
see
know, now it's gonna
actually.
give you
The
protection
mechanical
wedge.
shuffling stuff they're doing.
Shield of Wrath ends as opposed to when it activates, because you will be blocking attacks while the protection is active. So
Oh my
nice
God.
minor quality of
Glacial
life
Heart is
improvement.
gonna be crazy, dude.
Vigorous Precision shifting to on dodge trigger instead of on crit trigger. This just felt like something that was a bit more natural for the trait line that was in, and
Disabling, immobilizing,
have
or chilling,
too significant
dude.
of an impact. We still want this trait to be good. We still want it to be valuable and usable for like.
So
support
funny,
builds
Warrior has
especially.
all these traits that only
But
work
now
on
you won't
disable,
even have to
and then
worry
like
about,
everything else has like
swinging
disable, immobilize,
your
or X.
sword or throwing at something.
I'm
from
not
your
bitter.
staff
You're
or
bitter,
whatever.
chat. Shut up.
I'm just rambling at this point. Good stuff.
Zealot's
You can just
defense,
dodge.
you
You know,
can
as you're
move.
dodging to heal people, you can get some bigger. Very
Interesting. All right. All right. All right.
cool. Glacial Heart. This is another trait that is kind of underutilized, and we've kind of decided to rework a little bit. So it's still going to give you Glacial Blow, but instead of doing like the extra damage and chill trigger, it's not going to heal you when you disable, immobilize, or chill an enemy. Kind of trying to lean a little bit more into that bruiser.
Because
style of
Guardian has so
gameplay.
much chill.
Obviously,
That's
Hammer has,
important
like,
to
good
tack on
burst
there,
potential,
right?
But it's supposed to be a little bit more of that bruisery weapon with like the CC skills. You know, you got the ring.
Is
you
there
got
actual
Invoke, you got some
chill
banish stuff.
on
So maybe
Guardian
the heal makes it
anywhere?
a little bit more appealing. Obviously, it competes with two really
Why
strong traits.
chill?
We're going to see how that one goes. And Zealot's Defense, you can now move.
Immobilizing,
cool.
I get.
We've been
Disable,
updating
I
a lot
get.
of skills
Chill?
with this behavior, and Zealot's Defense was definitely one of them that we saw for this patch, where this skill would just be a lot better if you could move, and we don't
What
think
is
it'll be too
going
problematic.
on, man?
Very cool. I can't wait to press sword 3 and move.
Patch is gonna be
Very exciting.
crazy.
Taylor, why don't you walk us through what's going on with Willbender?
Yeah, Willbender. Kind of doing some light adjustments to physical skills to help improve their playability. A lot of them outside of whirling are still not really the best. So whirling light is hopefully getting its recovery time. You know, you can use it and still keep
Whirling
attacking.
light?
Flash combo, you're going to gain access to repose
Yeah, I know
even
Lex,
if you
but
don't
not
land
on
all
the
5
Guardian
hits.
kit.
And as well, repose is no longer going to be a damaging
actual
skill.
kit.
It's now going to be defensive, healing and removing conditions to you. And then kind of go in a bit crazy on Heaven's Palm. It's now going to evade you, and if it will
It
finish
finally
your target
finishes
if they are
targets.
downed and
Okay.
it's the only person in the radius. So, you
A
know,
little bit
kind of
wild,
single
you might
something
say.
out, one-shot them, finish them, Willbender stuff, crazy.
Willbender
Deathless
stuff.
Courage, also a trait that didn't really hit the mark,
Jesus
trying to be
Christ.
what it wanted to be. So we kind of completely reworked it, and now it's going to be just more consistent damage reduction to help you stay in a fight longer, kind of be the defensive trait you want for people team fighting and such.
Absolutely.
Oh,
All right.
buddy.
And I think, do we have any Firebrand notes to look over? Cal?
Unfortunately not.
You know, mission
Well,
accomplished.
Started playing
Firebrand.
Firebrand.
Firebrand
You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say that people are trying out Firebrand with the latest round of buffs, and we'll see how it lands.
No,
Yeah.
Sergio, all
No
buffs.
wity comments, Cal? I could have sworn you had a
All
joke prepared for
buffs.
this. Oh, okay,
I'm
fair
not
enough.
even memeing.
Well,
It's
This
all
is a
buffs.
serious stream now, Roy.
Oh no. Anyways,
They now get the thief
moving on
elite that
to
finishes
Mesmer
down
main should
players.
talk about the Mesmer notes.
I've never played Mesmer.
I don't
You
see
meant
Mesmer
Taylor. I
here.
see. Yes, of course.
Oh my god.
We'll be looking at some World versus World support adjustments for Mesmer, as well as some Mirage improvements for the power build in PvE. And yes, our resident Mesmer main is chomping at the bit to talk about it. That's a horse reference, and he loves animals. So Taylor, please take away this first Mesmer slide.
Support Mesmer was something
I
that
like
got very
Desperate
large
Decoy.
adjustments.
God damn it, I was
in,
using that.
You know, all game modes in the November update, and it came out really strong, a bit too strong. So we're taking some swings to
2 seconds
you know,
for Nullfield in
make
World
it at
versus
the power
World.
level of other supports. The first one here, Nullfield, we're basically reducing the pulses. The skill is incredibly strong, especially in World versus World. It boon rips and Condi clears, which is exactly what you wanted to do. And so it needs to be, you know, an appropriate power level for utility skill. Mantra of Concentration was similarly pretty insanely strong. Basically got all the stab you wanted from it. And so we're nerfing it in different ways, and then you're going to see later that we're adding the stab back in another place. And then, you know, the last note here is
Where's
kind
the
of
stab
part of
coming?
a dueling vamp up we're doing for the trait line. In the competitive modes, some traits in dueling were just pretty archaic, and so we're bringing them back
I like
to,
Desperate Decoy.
you know, what a trait should be in
God
today's
damn it. That was the one that would
Very
invis
cool.
you when you were at low health,
And
but it had
some
like a
more Mesmer
ridiculously long cooldown.
notes, excuse me.
Yeah, these are the other trait changes. Master Fencer, this one's kind of important because a while ago we made this AoE and it was a stealth nerf to it in competitive modes because it used to be full fury uptime and then it went to 50%. And now we're making it basically still 100% for the player itself.
Kind of going crazy
so
with some of
reverting
the
that
boons.
nerf that wasn't ever intended to be a nerf. But then you can see the rest is basically more support Mesmer nerfs for Warvy World, reducing the amount of chaos aura I can give. Temporal Enchanter is no longer going to increase glamour durations, and Sympathetic Visage is going back to be personal only. We felt that there was a lot of powerful traits in that tier, and it didn't need the option for more Condi Cleanse here.
Very good.
Okay.
Moving on to the specific elite specs. We got Chrono, Mirage, Virtuoso notes. Taylor?
Yep, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. Well of Precog, this is where I was talking about the stab went back. So we're putting stab on this skill at the beginning to
Right now refunds 2
still let
blades
Mesmers
after
have
casting
good
a
stab
blade song with
access, but
5
they need
blades. It's
to
Daring
commit more.
Dragon,
They
but
need to
fun
commit
for
another utility
Virtuoso.
slot to it. So they're just having one that does everything. And then going on, Power Mirage was a build that never really existed in PvE, and so why not? So we're buffing a lot of the power-based ambush skills, to do, pretty good damage, as well as a rework to Dune Cloak. That was a
I don't
trait that
think that'll
never
be
really
that
found a
good.
niche that we liked it in. So now when you gain Mirage, or when you shatter 2 or more clones, you're going to gain Mirage Cloak,
I don't
which
really
is
like
going to
that
be,
because then you don't have
a new
clones and you're
dodge
just
and then more
triggering
ambushes.
Infinite
So
Horizon
pretty good if you
still.
can successfully do that a lot. And then we have 2 little notes for Power Virtuoso in PvE. Sword of Decimation is now going to apply its bonus damage to Defiant foes and deal additional Defiant damage, which is going to be another option if you need Break Bar. You can drop a bit of damage to take Sword of Defiant or Decimation. And then Infinite Forge was not infinite. It was actually kind of bad at giving you blades compared to the other options. So now when you use a blade song with 5 or more blades, it will refund 2 blades. So,
That's
a
actually
lot
pretty
of
fun.
blades.
I like
It's
that a
not
lot.
infinite, but approaching.
We
gonna
talked about
say-
making it infinite, but then we decided that might be a bad idea.
Yeah, it took a while for us
There's the
to settle
smile.
on 2. We knew it was a number between 1 and infinite, and yeah, 2 is what we ended up with. But a lot of, as we mentioned, a lot of support adjustments for mostly chrono builds in World versus World. We adjusted a few things with it.
Keep
as
in mind,
well,
chat, this is all
couple
coming
targeted,
after they
changes
actually put the
in
new weapons
January
in
patch.
the game.
Are we thinking that this is going to be putting chrono in a place that we want to see now that we've kind of toned it down a little bit for a couple patches? Is it still kind of, there's a few more things we're potentially looking at if it still remains too strong? Is there sort of a goal in mind with chrono? When it comes to that
I always
support
really
build?
liked the.
We're going to keep our eye on it. We definitely still want Chronomancer to be
I really like the
a
virtuoso
viable option
utilities
that
that no
people
one
can
uses
play, but
except
we
for
don't want it
PvE.
to be, overly dominant, where it's just, taking over too many roles. So we are going to keep our eye on it after these nerfs for sure.
Sounds good. That will wrap up our pink class notes.
Scourge adjustments.
And
Cool.
we'll
This is a
be
lot of
talking
notes,
about,
chat.
Necromancer had a little bit of a hint at potentially one of the changes earlier. We were looking at Tempest that Taylor spoke about. But we'll be looking at some support Scourge adjustments in World
I
vs.
thought
World.
that's a World
as
versus
well as
World Harbinger adjustments, and I
improvements
was
in
about to just
PvE
leave and slam my door.
for Necromancer. Cal, Signets, I know
Yep.
you love them. So
Yeah, they're
why don't
very
you talk
pretty,
a
about
bunch of
Kashima, the
random
virtuoso
changes,
utilities.
to,
I want to work them into a
skills
build
and
for World
traits.
vs. World, but they're just not.
So
Mesmer
Plague
has
Signet
such good
here,
utilities.
we've updated the passive. So
Really?
That
Increase
is a Condi damage reduction instead of the transfer conditions, just because obviously the transferring conditions very thematic.
Dude, there's so
because
much true
you then transfer
damage.
them out with the Plague Signet itself.
So much true
But
damage
it
on
ended up
Necromancer.
Too often that you would just kind of grief yourself or troll
True damage is
yourself
lifesteal
by
in this game.
pulling a
It
condition
bypasses
that you didn't
toughness.
want, and it made it really difficult to justify using the skill a lot of the time. So the Condi damage reduction is kind of along the same lines where you can like take more conditions onto yourself because you'll be taking slightly less damage before you transfer them out, and it should just have a lot better gameplay. So hopefully that we'll
Maybe
see
when
a
you
bit more
press it,
Plague
it
Signet
transfers
because it is,
conditions?
a pretty strong utility skill. It's just randomly
Condi
low
damage isn't
YC, that's
affected by
not a very good
toughness.
skill.
So it just goes off your
Sickness of
vitality.
Suffering. This is a slight bump up to this trait again, adding some lifesteal to all the signet triggers. So it's going to do the boon rip, and it's going to give you a little bit of lifestealing as well. And then cooldown reduction to Well of Power because it's
The counter
again,
to
skill that doesn't
Condi
get a ton
damage
of
was
play.
vitality, and the counter to
So,
power
minus
damage
5
was
seconds,
toughness back in the day,
pretty
Rave.
standard.
But they've sort of.
30
That's why I'm really
seconds Well
worried about them
Power might be
giving a
good
lot of
skill, though,
Necromancer
so
true
we'll
damage.
see.
Unlike the
Then we can
swords and
see
now
here
this, because it
a lot of
bypasses
the
toughness.
Scourge nerfs
And the Necro v
for
Warrior
the
one
world.
matchup was
Obviously the
one that Warrior could win.
Desert Empowerment, granting vigor instead of alacrity. As Taylor said, we are really pulling back on a lot of the
Barrier
alacrity
blocks everything.
applications on many professions
For
for
competitive
competitive modes. And then, we see some barrier reductions or cooldown increases to skills that grant barrier.
Yeah.
Nothing
Good.
too crazy, honestly.
Barrier's insane.
All right, Harbinger.
Yeah, as the title slide said, some buffs to Power Harb. We kind of have a sense of where swords are going to land. Obviously, those
I have a
aren't
sense.
quite on live yet, and we may need to adjust after that patch goes out and people actually use swords. We do think that Power Harp could probably use a little bit of a bump. So we see a couple of those notes here, and then Vile Vials, a trait that kind of didn't really land well with the removal of the cooldown reduction because there's a pile of vulnerability.
They've done
Now
3
it's going to grant
classes,
protection
chat.
instead. That is a shareable protection with Twisted Medicine, so it should make the trait a little bit more exciting if you are not interested in a damage bonus in that slot.
Feels like we've done all of it. They've done 3
Very cool.
classes. This is crazy.
Moving on to Ranger, everyone's favorite green class. We've got
Dang,
some
Necro
Druid
Slam.
adjustments
Boom.
for the condition build that we're seeing in PvP, as well as some improvements to the Wilderness Survival specialization. And of course, Randomly, I think Taylor, you can talk about Ranger if you like, for no particular
I
reason.
don't know why.
Well,
why
weird
I
that
would wanna
overbearing
do
smash
Yeah,
is so
actually, this is
but
interesting. The
specific.
last time we had you talk about Ranger, it was a lot of pet notes. We're gonna see pet
There are-
notes here, Taylor?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Is it disappointing for you?
Maybe a bit.
Thump.
I don't have enough time.
Bigger.
But what's not disappointing is hammer, best weapon. What we're seeing
Best
here
weapon.
is we're kind of bridging the gap between the damage between the non-unleashed, leashed, brown, whatever you want to call them versions, to be closer to what their unleashed versions are, but still not as much damage, because we felt that they, had a decent amount of utility, but they still weren't worth using because they just didn't do enough damage. And so we're bringing up the damage on a lot of those that we felt were lower, as well as reducing the cast time on the second part of Overbearing Smash, the 3. And then Thump is getting a
greater number of
radius
boons.
increase to
Interesting.
be closer to what other, similar skills like Earthshaker and the Hammer 5 are.
Oh yeah,
And
the
then
the
lastly,
hammer
Unleashed
5
Thump
like
is going to give
Earthshaker.
a greater number of
The
boons to
F1
the
on
first enemy
Warrior.
struck, kind of similarly
Those are the
to,
exact same
Elementalist
skill.
Hammer or Fire 5, where it gives, a decent amount of boons on the first hit and then less for every subsequent hit.
All right. We on some more.
They
Ranger
just
adjustments?
compared Thump to
Yep, these are
Earthshaker.
the
I
Wilderness
can't
Rival,
deal with this chat.
changes, as well as Healing Spring. Healing
God,
Spring
fuck
is seeing
Warrior.
a reduction
Seriously,
in
though.
duration by half, but we're also reducing the interval it pulses from 2 to 1, so it's the same amount of pulses, just for less. Having a water field out for 10 seconds is kind of crazy, and 5 seconds, but you do it once every second is a lot more consistent and easy for people. But we're also reducing the amount of conditions cleansed from 2 to 1 in War vs. World and PvP. The amount of
actually
cleanse that
crazy.
came out from the skill was just kind of insane. 10 conditions, 24
Well,
second
Bear Stance
cooldown.
exists.
It was a lot. Now it's 5, which is still a lot, but half. So, yay.
That's quick math.
Yeah. And then back to Wilderness Survival. We kind of, similarly to Inventions, we want to see this be kind of a bruiser trait line, like Defense on Warrior, but there just weren't any good traits for if you were like a power bruiser, so we're kind of trying to add them. Like Refined Toxins is getting a rework to now have incoming strike damage reduced and outgoing strike damage increased. And then Empathic Bond was a trait that was just kind of redundant in the Grandmaster tier. It's a Condi Cleanse trait, but competed with Wilderness Survival.
It did.
Or Wilderness Knowledge that was also cleansed. So we're moving it to the Master tier, changing how it cleanses.
a lot
so
of
it can be
Condi
a
Cleanse.
different cleanse option in that tier if you want to take that in a different Grandmaster, which, speaking of which, we're adding a new one, Carnivore. It's basically Lightning Rod, but instead of, weakness and you can crit, it's lifesteal. So healing and consistent damage should hopefully help out those brawler builds
Steal
that want to play
health.
like Hammer or the new maces
Good.
on like side nodes or skirmishes. It gives
More
some
true
sustain.
damage.
Interesting.
My
Are you sure
favorite
Carnivore
thing.
should be a
Dude,
Ranger trait,
Jesus.
not a necromancer
I mean, maybe
trait?
if they put enough
I
true
don't
damage
know.
in the
Honestly,
game chat,
I
they'll
don't know if
stop
this should be the
balancing
name,
Warrior
'cause
like
what if
it
you're fighting a
has
Solari
toughness. Because
or
it
a
won't
Mordra?
matter.
It's not going to proc.
Because it
Doesn't
already
work.
doesn't.
Yep.
It's
We
disabled.
special case that.
Maybe Omnivore is better.
Ooh.
Okay, we could potentially see a trait name by release.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, please let us know what you think. Maybe it should just be called Gormandize. Who knows?
Good
Either
name.
way, we're going to be moving on to Druid and Untamed. Some of the specs here for Ranger. Taylor, you've been doing
More
such a great job with the
alacrity.
Ranger. You seem to know this class so well. I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I'm appalled.
Yep.
Please take it away.
Grace of the Land, no longer Alacrity, back to Might. Decent amount of
Oh.
Might stacking,
the
not
stars
decent,
getting
actually.
nerfed.
Really good Might stacking, so this trait still has a place. Just Alacrity is not something we want to give to Druid anymore. Natural
The
Balance.
Unleashed Ambush thing
We
is
saw
pretty good.
the Druid builds that are running over PvP right now are very tanky, and they don't need this incoming strike damage reduction. In other game modes, it was kind of useless, so we're changing it to Boon Duration, which is a lot less helpful in competitive game modes, but, in PvE, it's pretty good, maybe to even help a build like Condi Alac Druid. It doesn't really exist because they don't have enough stats to take that they want, so hopefully this helps them out there. Glyph of the Stars is getting nerfed in competitive modes, kind of similarly to Healing Spring. It was a ton of cleanses,
Interesting. Unnatural. The teleport
as
now
well
gives
as
you
a lot of other
quickness.
things. So its cooldown is going up, its cleansing is going down, and in Worldly World, its revive percent is also going down. So that'll do it with all the Druid adjustments, and now do Untamed. This one's hopefully a big quality of life improvement.
Yeah, it's good.
Unleashed Ambush skills will no longer be automatically used when auto attack is enabled. When you had auto attack enabled, it was really clunky. A lot of the times you
does
would
that on
accidentally
Mesmer
cancel
too,
your
guys.
own ambushes, and it felt really bad. And was honestly a big barrier to entry to people that didn't know that it was, a bad thing to have it on. So we're hoping that this feels a lot better for players, that they can have auto attack on and not worry about like ruining their ambush skills. For Ranger, we didn't add this to Barrage because we felt that there weren't a lot of cases where you don't want to immediately use it. But, you know, according to feedback, if a lot of people want this function on the Mirage, then that's definitely a conversation
he said
we can
Mirage,
have.
not Barrage.
And lastly, Unnatural Traversal. This skill kind of died when we added a cast time to it. We don't want to make it instant cast again. We were not happy with the gameplay patterns that it had, so we're kind of trying to meet it in the middle, where now if you use this while unleashed, you'll gain quickness instead of might, so you won't be instant, but your skills will be faster. So hopefully it'll be land in the middle of where it was now and then. As well, we're increasing the amount
Will
of
then do
vulnerability
true
it applies.
damage when. Sorry. That's
Very
good. I'm down with that.
Yeah, I think that's
10
pretty much all we
vulnerability
need to
is
say about
substantial.
Ranger. So we can move on to Thief. We got some tuning adjustments here for Quickness Deadeye, build we've seen rise and fall in the past, and some Critical Strikes usability improvements.
I'm squinting at my
Cal,
screen
You
chat.
want to start talking about Thief?
Sure, I can say some words about Thief.
Great.
So kicking things off
Thank
with
you.
some smaller changes to start here. You know, some piercing on rifle and some minor buffs to sword. We see tactical strike can have a short daze on
Shadow
the
Portal no
when
longer
you front
breaks
stab
stun.
someone with tactical
Interesting.
strike. You will get a short daze instead of a blind.
I never knew it did.
Just a tad
I
on.
just
a couple
assumed
of these
thieves
sword
are always in
skills
a
to make it little
perpetual
bit
state
more
of stun
appealing,
break.
as well as Shadow Portal no longer breaks stun.
All right.
Nothing too crazy, really. Moving into the next slide, we have some trait adjustments. So some more,
Finally, deadly
as we
aim no
said,
longer
usability improvements,
reduces
some of the
damage.
critical
The
strike
pistol
change-
trait. Jesus
critical strike
Christ, that
traits
was
that care about
dumb.
your health threshold. We've kind of been reducing these over
That's
time.
needed for like
90
actually
to 75, now we're
6
going all the way
years.
down to 50. Should make it just a lot more reliable because of how important being able to critically strike all the time in PvE is. We wanted to give this
Right now,
a
additional
little bit
source
more leeway
initiative
than
when
we
you dodge.
might
That's
normally
horrifying.
for this type of trait, but we expect this to make just Thief gameplay a lot better. Deadly aim also going to actually increase your pistol and harpoon damage instead of reducing it. Should be a nice little change there. And then we have a couple of improvements to acrobatics.
I got your meme.
Vigorous recovery.
I got your meme without
Kind of
even
reworked
seeing it,
this
Sergio.
to
Hang
might
on.
on dodge as opposed to an extra source
There you
of
go.
vigor.
What's the
And
name of the new trait?
The trait's called Pumping Up.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
It's
it
probably
is a
named
lot of
by
buffs, right?
our resident thief main, Taylor.
Oh my goodness, Taylor, it's crazy how many.
I wear a
classes
lot
he
of hats
names.
around
Yeah.
here.
And then upper hand getting a slight buff as well. giving
Slight
some
buff, yeah.
back
There's
when
very
you
few
dodge.
things, chat, that actually give
What,
initiative
what do
in
you
the game to
envision-
Thief.
either of you
That's
could
actually
fill me in,
kind
James.
of
What do you
crazy.
envision,
Especially
the
if it doesn't
thief
have a
does
cooldown.
when he pumps up.
They go to the gym, Roy.
You know,
Come
it's
on.
just like cardio. You
Yeah,
know, you're warming
exactly.
up, you're getting pumped, getting amped, ready. Get in.
Cardio.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Taylor, why don't you talk about Daredevil and Deadeye for us?
Attempted
Yep.
trolling
Havoc
failed.
Specialist. This is getting changed to be a flat bonus, like Leviathan Strength. It was really annoying because in PvE you wanted to have no dodges so you could get max value out of this, and so when someone gave you Vigor, you were mad. That doesn't seem right. So we're making it flat. As long as you don't have full endurance, you're gonna get the bonus. We kind of like average it to what we expected, it normally was. So in PvE it's gonna be 15%, competitive 10%. And then going down, Deadeye Stolen Skills, increasing the damage here. This is going to be a buff to all Deadeye builds, but mostly the ones that do quickness because they're going to be casting them more, as well as some quality of life changes, hopefully, with Shadow Meld and Mercy being options you can take for, encounters where being a Deadeye is sometimes annoying. Hopefully these skills can help it be less annoying, as well as we see some buffs to some add-up traits to make them more appealing.
Very good. Very good. All right, that's going to wrap up Thief for us. We're going to be moving on now to Warrior. Moving right along.
Rush
We've got
tracking
some little
improvements.
for some builds that we're seeing in the competitive modes. We've got some, interestingly enough,
I can't deal with
PvP
this.
power berserker buffs. I don't know how that
Is
got
that
in there.
interesting?
That is interesting.
Our
And
Berserker sucks. Have you seen the numbers?
well, apparently you have. But anyways,
We've seen the numbers.
What's most interesting, of course, is this final note: Rush tracking improvements.
Oh
A
my
note
God.
that is
8
one note long and
years
yet important enough
later.
to be on the title slide for Warrior.
11 years in the making.
Yeah, it took. I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, 11 years in the making. But here we go, Cal. I know you're super excited about this one. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the title slide. Why don't you talk
Yeah, I
about
love Rush.
All right, about the
Anyone
Slag
who's
Forest.
played with the greatsword on warrior may be familiar with the times you press rush and run in the wrong direction. It's not great. Kind of feels really bad. I don't know if there's much to say there beyond this interaction is miserable every time it happens. So we've tried to improve it. We're really
It's
hoping
genuinely
that
very
changes,
good, very funny.
do hit what we're trying to do and make rush not run in random directions every once in a while.
It's pretty funny.
So, we'll see. We can only hope, because warriors, I think all warrior mains will rejoice once rush actually does track properly. Beyond that, we have a couple
Oh,
other
my
improvements to the
There's
greatsword. I mean, who cares about the other changes? We're improving rush tracking.
Pretty much.
We should have started with
Yeah,
this
so
one.
we see a couple changes here to the greatsword as well. Arcing Slice getting a little bit of buff to its non-execute damage. So if you hit someone above 50% health, you'll do a little bit more than you usually do. But that execute damage still high, still powerful, not going to change. We're seeing a similar change below to Final Thrust on Sword, where just getting a little bit smaller gap instead of having like a 50% or 100% increase when you're on the execute threshold, making it a little bit smaller. So the skill still feels good to use, and it is not getting that full strength damage. Also, kind of a minor bump up for Savage Leap, getting a little bit more damage and a little bit lower cooldown. Not much to say there.
Be nice if it
And
tracked
Last
like
Stand,
the
getting a
Ranger
little bit
Leap,
of
but I'll
bump
take it.
for all the Last Stand users. Take some stances, take some Last Stand. You'll get a little bit extra barrier compared to what you get on live right now.
Very
Yeah,
good.
now compare this to the Willbender
All right, Berserker,
changes.
I think we can have you
That's
talk about
funny.
these as well, Cal.
Sure.
You love PvP
as we
Power
said,
Berserker?
Power Berserker stuff. We see a lot of power coefficients increasing for skills
Unblockable,
that aren't
that's
quite
good.
as good. Dagger and
They're actually giving some of the
hammer and
damage
mace
back on
all
Wild
getting
Blow.
a little
It's
bit of
the
a damage
2
bump
on
to their
regular
primal
sword
burst
decker,
skills.
Savage Leap.
And Wild Blow kind of getting a significant change here to try to make it feel
Slicing
a bit
Maelstrom
more.
getting damage buffs, right? That's
I don't know
funny.
what word I'm even looking for, but something that Power Berserker feels good playing with and gives them a little bit of
I have a hint. Take the aftercast
ways
off
to like
Slicing
interact.
Maelstrom.
It's
It'll feel
obviously
better.
going to now be unblockable and dazed, so it's kind of really targeting those matchups where you kind of get hosed by blocks, and it's going to allow you to take this utility skill, spend that slot, and have a lot more interaction for those matchups. So we're also changing it to be a daze instead of a knockdown. So it's going to be a really short daze, and the idea is to be like that interrupt daze, and then also give it a chance to really do some damage instead of having that 0.01
No
coefficient.
Bladesworn changes.
Is there kind of
Interesting.
a vision for Power Berserker in PvP that we have?
Interesting.
I don't
If
know if we
no,
have a specific vision. There's a lot
if
of
no
options that
Bladesworn
you can play
changes,
with
then
Power
they still
Berserker,
have their
in the
alacrity, and I'm
past,
going to
back
eat that in
Hearthstone
one
was there,
slide.
we
I
did
guarantee
see,
it.
like Mace Shield Greatsword as an option, but now Dagger in the mix, that could be a very interesting option. Hammer, maybe. I mean, a lot of these builds probably are going to be playing Greatsword, and then like
They're
there's even a
not.
lot of
Greatsword
flexibility in
sucks. They're
utility
going to be
skills.
playing
It's just that,
staff.
like, none of these builds are really up to where they need to be. So we are,
Oh shit.
just improving a lot of things that aren't very good, and then seeing what the players are
Sure,
going to
they're
try
not
out
done yet, Eric.
once these changes make it to live. See, like, okay, is one subset of this build good, but the rest isn't, or is everything still bad? Is Power Berserker suddenly great? Probably not. But we do want Power Berserker to be a supported archetype, and obviously Condi's already great. So we do want to make Power a little bit better.
All right, sounds good. And last but not least, we will be moving on to
No
Revenant. where we see a
Bladesworn
single
changes.
Note here for the title slide.
None.
A rework to the legendary Renegade stance, also sometimes
What?
referred to as Kala stance.
I'm calling it right now. They're
Um,
also going to take Alacrity
I
off of
know you
Bladesworn,
just
but it just
talked a
didn't
lot
make
about
it into
Warrior,
the
but I'm going
presentation.
to have to call on you again, unfortunately.
Well, it's okay. We have an intermediate slide here with a bunch of unrelated notes to the Kala rework
Okay,
that Taylor
fair
can
enough.
cover.
Fair enough.
I'll take over.
We'll
glad
pause
to.
on the calorie work for a second. Yes, Taylor, who would be glad to read these notes. Please read these notes. Thank you.
Yep. The bulk of this is support Vindicator in Rovie World. Gameplay patterns, again, we didn't like energy expulsion, pretty strong skill, especially for one with a 2-second cooldown. And so it kind of devolved into you don't want to do anything
charges
except press this button.
Coalescence of
And
Ruin.
so
That's
we're
really
giving
good.
it a 15-second cooldown and lowering its effectiveness. Still a very good button. It gives resistance and stability and a blast finisher, but you're going to have to do other things besides just press this. As well, Imperial Impact is no longer going to extend boons on allies. There was another trait that we weren't happy to see the gameplay patterns it created. Boon extension is something that's really powerful, and on this, we just weren't happy with it there. So we're increasing the duration of all the boons that it gave, the protection and might and everything, and so we're going to see how it plays, when those have
Well,
real
rip
durations
my
on them,
broken
and that
builds
is where the
Vindicator
value of the
build.
trait comes from.
That was
Very well
fun.
could not be a great trait, and will be on our eyes in the future, but that's what we're doing with it
Will
now.
be on our eyes.
As well, a small thing, drop the
The
hammer.
close eye, get it right.
It's now going to get some additional functionality and a change in its cast time. It's now going to have a much shorter cast time where you just swing to summon a mist hammer that will attach above the person that you have targeted, kind of like Dragon's Tooth.
Oh, good, because that's a healthy interaction.
Minor correction, it will not follow.
It will not follow. Never mind.
Slam the ground target location.
That's much
We
better.
cut that. So sucks for you guys. But it will recharge Coalescence of Ruin, kind of like a lot of the other hammer resets.
Only Ellie's got nice things.
Yeah, you know, all the other heavy hammers had some sort of cooldown reset, so we had to add it here as well.
Yeah. Taylor reading the April Fool's notes clearly. Yes.
Who knows where we'll sweep next? Which 5 skill will recharge the slot 2 skill of its weapon?
Especially on hammers. Are there any hammer skills that don't do that yet? Or hammers that don't do that yet? I guess
There are.
Oh, okay.
There's always room for more.
There's always room. Yeah, who knows? All right, but here we go. Leading into what everyone is really excited about is Renegade. And when I say everyone, I really mean Cal. So Cal, please.
Summons are no longer targetable, so they no longer affect target cap.
All right, let's see if I remember my spiel. I wrote a big spiel for the post, and then, don't remember it. So there's a lot of things that we were thinking about with Renegade Stance or Kala. We've seen in the past how this is played in competitive modes, especially PvP, kind of like the unhealthy state
fix your shit.
Just how the gameplay of Kala currently is. Where, you summon a lot of summons, they last for a long time, and it is very visually loud. Can even make,
can affect target cap in World versus World.
Game, but we don't like to have things that are excessively loud, and Kala was definitely one of these. So as we're going into this, we wanted to definitely improve the gameplay patterns for competitive modes. And we wanted to make sure that we aren't significantly impacting PvE either, because this is something that gets used. So we've taken that into consideration. Like, there's a lot of things that are different, but we've tried to tune the numbers and tune the mechanics such that it should land pretty similar to where it is right now. And, if we miss the mark, we'll buff it.
You probably did all time.
To make sure that it is still good where it needs to be. But there is some significant mechanical reworks here that some of you may.
I like band together. It's kind of like the Ellie pistol thing.
For first off, no longer targetable. This is basically more in line with Ranger Spirits, and part of the idea here is that as part of this rework, all of the Kala spirits, except for Soul Cleave, because that's still going to be an upkeep skill, but the spirits are going to last significantly less time. So you're going to summon a spirit, and it's going to come in, give like an initial bonus around itself, and then perform some kind of skill, as opposed to the current behavior where they all kind of have like these long, not upkeep skills, but long channels.
Just go back and look at the world vendor changes and be sad,
Chat. Cut down on their overall lifetime and make them have like more immediate impact. So we're going to see like initial bonus on activate, then perform some kind of skill that we'll talk about and show off in game as well, and then kind of phase out and leave. Kind of similar to Ranger Spirits in that sense. Not going to have any shaking, no shaking chars like we have shaking spirits, but they'll still salute you as they.
Will they slam?
No slams.
One of them does.
Yeah, that's true. There is a slam. There's a slam. So
nice.
But the other mechanic here,
you're contributing solid input.
We've kind of added to capture some of the feeling, like that warband feel of like, I summon my warband member and then they kind of like team up or tag team. We're calling it Band Together because we love naming things for no reason. You'll have the nice little yellow text on your tooltip that says Band Together. This means something. So basically what it means
in school, Cal?
Basically what it means is that when you cast one of your legendary Renegade Stance skills, not Soul Cleave, because again it's an upkeep skill where you keep the cooldown short, not touching that one too much.
Right.
But any of your other Renegade skills,
God damn it.
When you activate one, it will trigger Band Together, which says your next legendary Renegade skill, the Kala Stance specifically, not any of the F skills, will activate instantly and then get a bonus. So the idea is like, you kind of call for backup, or you team up with 2 of your different spirits, and so the next one just comes in very quickly and then gets a little bit more powerful. I guess there is the Soul Cleave note on this page already that everyone's probably read many times over since I've been talking for quite a while. But we do see some cast time reductions, some energy cost reductions, just to make the skill a little bit more available. And then a slight bonus to how it works, where every time you summon another warband member, Soul Cleave will also do a little pulse of damage and a pulse of healing around
Nice, Cal's got some wind tunnel going.
So it doesn't quite fit in with the band together mechanic as well, being an upkeep skill. We're going to keep the cooldown low. Like I said, the energy cost is going to be low. So if you could keep, like,
okay, he's repeating himself, so I'm
Soul
going to talk over
Cleave,
this.
get band together bonus.
This is
dismiss,
a cool trait.
Summon,
it's very neat,
the gameplay's just
but
really janky. So we just added like this other
does kind of
tie-in
feel
instead, where it will
whatever
get a nice
for
bonus when you
Renegade,
summon
but also
any
like
other
the
warband
ability to
member,
not target them
but
because that was
not
kind of
quite the
affecting
same
world versus
with these
world
others.
numbers. So it is what it is.
Why don't you take a drink of water, Cal?
Good idea. Thanks.
Yeah.
Also-
Just from the chat, bro is yapping.
And that's Taylor's job. For the record, I was in band
I'm
in
yapping.
middle school and high school. Just to put that out
Okay,
there.
no instruments here. But,
I played trumpet and French horn.
Oh my god.
Some lore.
Okay.
Yeah, I like sharing. Anyways, here we go. We can take a look at the specific skills, and Cal, now refreshed, can continue his spiel.
Yep. So we can talk a little bit about. We will show these off in game, so
There's more.
it'll be great. As I said before, we'll try to keep this a little bit shorter. But as I said before, they're all going to have like a more unique skill than they did before. So Breakbracer is going to come in and use like kind of that empower animation to do a similar skill to
What about
empower.
Renegade mains feel about this? Let me know in the chat
Heal
if anyone's
pulses
here.
and then a big heal at the end.
You like this?
Also give some resolution. When it is enhanced,
It's
through
like
band together,
They're already
I keep
fine,
saying
and
band
they're just going to be
together,
fine in a
Nice.
different way.
that will also give you give barrier to allies on that final pulse.
Projectiles, useless and
Dark Racer Daring. Here's where we're going to
Flash
have
bleeding.
that slam. It's going to use that worldly impact kind of animation
okay.
where it leaps up in the
Well, that's
ground
fine,
and
'cause you
slams
can
down
make your torment
into the
roll
ground,
stuff.
dealing a single hit of damage and daze. So,
Dark Razor's Daring
previously
was
the
always the
skill
good
would
one.
channel for a long time and keep dazing and keep dazing and keep dazing and keep dazing.
Yeah,
It was very
really good.
frustrating gameplay.
Yeah, it was really good.
So now we'll just do a single daze, and it will
Okay,
have
well,
a decent damage strike on there
cool.
as well.
Honestly, I
It's
was
also gonna give
astonished
prop
that the
tallies when you
repeated
summon
daze
it,
attack
and
was
if
in
it's
the game for as
enhanced,
long as it was.
will grant resistance on that final impact. Razor Claw's
No
Rage.
guy at
That
camp.
initial impact here is that it's going to give you some
I think they're all in their
stacks.
bedrooms.
Razor Claw buff is
To be
now
fair, I'm in
stacking
my
because it's
bedroom.
not going to be
I
lingering
think
in
they
the
all
room
work
for so
from home
long.
now.
It's just going to pop in, give allies some of those bleeding
I
stats.
don't know. You should go into the main chat and
and
ask him.
then perform
then-
its own attack that does bleeding in the area, does some strike damage, does some bleeding. When it's enhanced, it will also deal some torment. And finally, we're going to have Ice Razor's Ire. Instead of having that very long channel again where you throw like 20 different projectiles, it's going to pop in,
And immobilize.
throw
That's good,
3
but it's still
projectiles
projectile.
at nearby enemies, up to 5 enemies. You'll throw, we'll see this in game, but you'll throw a few different projectiles at those enemies,
On it.
inflicting torment, vulnerability, and immobilize. And when enhanced by band together, the skill will also inflict chill on each projectile.
I don't know how
which
you
is
can be
very
bored. I
cool
know,
with
like,
the
I'm
trait
not a
that says
Renegade
when you
player,
chill
but,
someone,
like,
inflict torment.
it's still interesting to
So
me.
for conditioned builds, it does give that a little bit of extra gameplay hook. So why don't we take a look at these in-game, Roy?
Sure thing. And that is
they're actually gonna show them
going
off.
to wrap
Red.
up. We are going to take a look at these, as Cal mentioned, in a moment. But that is going to wrap up all of our profession notes for the
It's a green
balance
screen there at
preview.
ArenaNet. Yeah,
As
possibly.
mentioned before, those notes are going to be posted to the forums at the end of the stream. But we are going to now begin taking a look at the QR2 weapons.
All right,
start
weapons.
taking a look
Take
at
a
the
drink
Cavalry
of water,
ones that we
chat.
talked about,
Hydrate,
but then we
blink.
will also be taking a
Remember
look
to stretch.
at, some
Posture check if you got 'em.
updates to Revenant Scepter. So we will move.
People are frantically asking in the chat, Cal, is
Taylor
Dark
loves
Razor's
reading
Daring
chat.
still a stun break?
Yes.
Yeah, it needs to be a stun break. That's
All right.
the
Well,
only
and
skills you
and
can take.
see that in just a moment. But yeah, here we go. We've got some. You can read the band together.
Oh,
man.
check out
together.
the scepter
What a
icons,
great
chat.
name.
Look at these.
Love
Band
to see that.
Look at the
together.
effort on display.
Was there a song? Is there a jingle?
You have icons for scepter.
I mean, there's
This is
the.
dope.
There's
I
like
guess
the
we're gonna
High
get them
School
for
Musical,
everything.
We're all in this together song.
So write down this timestamp. I'll put it in the video as well. This is weapon time.
Yeah, I don't know.
In a
You
second.
see, that spirit instantly cast because I used another spirit before and activated the mechanic.
Wow, that's cool.
I'm gonna
That's
say this
awesome.
about Bladesworn.
Empower,
I'm
and
glad
Big
it's
Razor
not
has
in
a
this
staff
patch
now instead
actually,
of a
because
mace.
I'm gonna copium
That
it
is
up here
pretty
and say
important, yeah. As you can see, Soul
they
Wave
know it
is
needs
going
a
to
big
still just be
rework.
the upkeep skill as
That's
normal.
all I'm gonna say about that.
Give me some damage.
That's my
stacks there as I use my
idealizing
scepter.
and
Whoa, Scepter on Revenant. Oh my gosh, who saw that coming?
kind of crazy.
That's crazy. But we can take a quick mouse over these skills. Just
Yeah,
to
they're
read them.
continuously improving, Maddie, especially with the art.
Obviously, we've got the heal.
The music and the art have both gotten better since the game launched, so
we've got ice razors.
something I really respect them for.
Everyone can
Balance,
screenshot the VOD if they want,
know.
the stream.
We'll see.
Which will
Dark
hopefully
Razors.
not be muted.
Yes. Yeah.
think we're
I
covered. We're
like
covered.
double checked to make sure.
Still a Firefield.
But
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Any last final thoughts you'd like to share for Kala there, Cal?
Can you
Uh,
just like cast them one at a time so people can see the animation?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call. You know what? I'll even.
let's get
I'll
some
even
I
shoot
close
kind
it.
of like the dancing
Yeah,
animations.
I could.
Dude, this is
even-
not a
I'll even
small
go first
patch.
camera. First,
This is not a small
crazy.
patch, Eric.
Yeah. That is pretty crazy.
Okay.
Nice. I am a professional role
Ooh.
player. Damn, look at that
Razor
salute.
Claw.
We do love our animations. Oh, we forgot to show something. Speaking of
Alright.
animations.
Empower.
The staff, not a
with the
mace.
staff.
I didn't like
Look at that
the
flip.
core sound
Okay,
design.
no enemies
flex,
nearby, so it
but
didn't
again,
throw
people can
anything.
agree to
That's
disagree.
fortunate.
I think it got really good with Heart of Thorns. The music was good.
Okay.
I just didn't like the sound
Everyone,
design.
Specifically, Cal is a critic.
Cameraman.
Okay.
That one was cool. That's the one you're going to see the
Love
most.
it. Love it.
There we go. Obviously, some pretty significant mechanical adjustments to Kala here. I'll just reiterate what I said at the start. Like, we still want this to fill basically the same role that it does in PvE, and maybe even be a little bit more accessible to like Power Renegade in PvE with like the new strikes and all that good stuff. We do want this to be like viable in competitive modes. I'd love to see Kala playable in PvP in a way that does not make people get very upset, because that was basically the entire history of Kala in PvP.
That's true. You would jump all your summons on a point and run away.
So yeah, we'll be obviously, our favorite sentence of all time. We'll be keeping a pretty close eye on this.
Ah, I said
And
the
obviously
thing.
you
Take a
guys
shot,
please give your
chat.
feedback in the forums of what you think. Think
Yeah,
of
he
these
said camp. I
new
like
mechanics
it.
for Kala. But I think we feel pretty good about them internally, so we will want to see.
Yeah,
how
maybe
they
if I
play
quit the
on
game, they'll
live and,
buff Bladesworn
if
Kashima.
there's
Maybe
further
it's my
tuning
fault.
that needs to
I think about
happen,
that a
will
lot,
be
actually.
Super surprising, but we do want to see like how this plays out.
Indeed.
And band together.
And while we're here, I guess we can just get into our first updated weapon, which is Scepter. Taylor, if you want to talk a little bit about it, we'll get the
Would've
notes
been
up on
funny
stream
if
in a
they
moment.
did
But
do
since we
Scepter
are
first,
in game,
right?
we can kind of show it off a bit.
All right, weapons. Let's
Yeah,
go, chat.
So going over the larger changes, Blossoming Aura is now going to be ally targetable. You can still put it on an enemy. Nothing is lost here. It's just complete addition. If there's not an enemy near and you still want to support your allies, you can put it on them. And then as well, it's no longer going to charge up with the auto attack, but it will charge up over time. So you can detonate it whenever you want now, and its effects will scale based on how long it's been charging up.
Neat.
So that is pretty
I
hopefully
think what
good
they should show
quality
is
of
the
life
rush
for that
working.
skill. Hopefully, always support your allies even if no one's near. And then the second part of the Scepter updates are going to be changing the tether. Tether is no longer an upkeep skill. It is a fixed duration skill that, similarly to the 2, will no longer charge up with
that's a
auto attacks,
tooltip.
but it will just charge up over time, scaling like that. And then at the very end of the tether, you'll get access to the port or the pull based on what you have. And then there are some balance updates to all the numbers on it, which will come up on the screen. You guys can read those. TLDR is the auto attack was like really good, and
It is really
we
good.
made it not as good.
Good.
But
It was
skills are
broke.
still good. Yeah.
It was broke.
Nice.
Excellent summary.
Indeed. Excellent summary indeed. All right. Couple more notes there. Just pausing.
What if I
for
run out of
people
money, Eric?
screenshot. These notes will, of course, be eventually on
So
the forum.
the notes for the QR2
No, go
weapons will not be
back.
part of the balance preview.
Jesus,
These
no one
will
can
be
read that
shown
fast.
off in the final release notes when those go live. But feel free to, as Roy said, screenshot, watch the VOD.
Yeah. And obviously these weapons are not coming with the March balance patch that we just previewed. They're coming with the QR2 launch, so they'll be out sooner. We're just showing off the changes now, and we can move on to Mesmer Rifle. Taylor, if you want to also talk a little bit about that.
Take it away.
Yep. A lot of these are just number adjustments. The numbers were pretty high on the weapon, so they went down. but a lot of usability improvements for the 2 and the 3.
I might retweet
hopefully
that,
be more
Lex. That was
snappy and
funny.
supportive when you want them to be. And then the bigger change to Phantasmal Sharpshooter. In PvE, it's 2 charges, and everywhere it's going to hit a radius impact to stun AoE. So hopefully be a better crowd control tool and more liberal usage than PvE.
All right.
What more can you tell us? Do you make any good jokes about this in the
Dude, these
blog
are
post?
long. Slow the
I
fuck down.
Don't know if I
Any
did.
Any good
It
phrases?
got cut by
Distance.
editing, so I can't say it on stream. But yeah, this
Looks
is
like the
portal's
similarly
opened.
number adjustments. Nothing crazy here. They're all going to work the same. The bigger one is the visual effect.
They
The
hate
portal kind of
periods
does
on
like a
their
flash
sentences.
bang, like please look at me, please take me. I exist for a reason. Don't ignore me. When the portal gets opened.
Okay. Very good.
That's cool. Cool stuff.
We'll be moving on to warrior staff. We'll show this off a little bit in game. Cal, if you want to talk a little bit about the staff changes.
Yep.
Leap finisher,
that-
good.
I think the big update
I think it
here is
already
gonna be
was,
the
actually,
change
weirdly.
to line breaker, the 3 skill. This is something that
Oh, the leap
had,
finisher's big.
ally targeting behavior before. It was very difficult to use effectively. So we just made it ground targeted, kind of similar to like
Yeah, because it was
Druid
just
staff,
old rush.
where, like, you
No wonder
obviously
it
don't
was
become a
affected by
wisp here.
quickness.
We thought about it, but now you just run to a location and then do your final like roar that
I don't hate
causes
that.
you to give all the bonuses you did before.
Especially if they're fixing the rush
So
targeting
still
on the
available as that
greatsword, I
long
don't hate
distance
that.
movement skill if you want. If you press this like right next to yourself, such that you're not going to need to move, it will just not bother moving and just use the skill, the final skill immediately. So that's still a little too close. We can tune that number a little bit too. But cast it close to yourself, it'll just fire off that buff.
The
to
icons
your
don't
allies
look like
and do
warrior
that healing
skills,
as well.
Kashima.
We've also
They look
added
like
a little bit of
good,
adrenaline to the kit,
and you can tell what
because,
the person's doing.
It was a little bit too hard to generate adrenaline on the support builds. So we'll see
Which I
that
still don't
Valiant
get.
Leap skill 2 and also Defiant Roar on skill 5 are going to grant some adrenaline. You're not going to see it here in Roy's demonstration because it's going to grant you adrenaline
No
if you
ja-
affect
no
another
javelin.
ally. It's not just going to say you're using the skill to go in and attack somebody to give you extra adrenaline, but if you are supporting your allies, it will give you some bonus.
Why does
adrenaline there.
everything have the same?
We've also added a
Blue
little bit of a
AoE.
warm up to skill 4, warm up effect, so that enemies can see this a little bit better. Fear not, this is not visible to your allies. This is just visible to you, the player, and all of your enemies. You can kind of see the attack radius coming in. And then, like I
They're
said,
adding
the
telegraphs
note
to a lot
to
of
Defiant Roar is that
CC.
the skill will grant you a little bit of adrenaline, plus bonus adrenaline per blocked attack. So as it scales with healing, it will also scale with the adrenaline that it grants. We also fixed a really annoying bug with the block itself, where it would just always interrupt when auto attack was enabled. So it should actually work now, which
Should.
that should hopefully make everyone happy. We did also reduce the damage of the burst skill in competitive modes because it was just a bit too high for a support weapon.
Indeed.
Fine with all of this.
All right,
Maybe a lot
Guardian
too high.
Needed to happen.
Pistols with a S.
Gives regen
With-
on auto
yes,
attack.
Eric.
multiple pistols.
Staff.
Indeed. Taylor.
It looks like some additional notes got added to this that were bug fixes coming in the next patch. So you can read them if you want.
Ignition
They're
gives
not of
might
note.
of repulse. Interesting.
But pistols by themselves, pretty good weapon. By like landed pretty well, but we just want to make sure it's competitive, especially the offhand and PvE. So it's seeing some number adjustments. And
Their
the
pun game is weak
5
this
is going to
stream.
charge
Fired off pretty
faster,
well.
and also you can reactivate it faster, so you can hit people in melee range more reliably.
I think the F1 is the blue.
But other than that,
believe-
this weapon
or the
landed
rush.
pretty well. Always going to keep our eye on it, of course, but nothing big changing with it.
Yeah, really, the biggest change we made for pistols was reworking the torch trait.
Yeah.
Not a
because it
joke.
makes
That's
it
serious.
less mandatory to have multiple torches equipped on your Condi Guard builds.
All right, very good. Ranger maces. Taylor, you can also talk about that one if you like.
All right,
Taylor's gonna be
Go,
talking for a
chat.
little while, I think.
brace for impact.
Yep.
Gonna hurt.
Anything interesting, particularly about Ranger, Taylor? Does it do anything to you?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Does it
Nice heals
possibly
over time as a soul beast.
make you
Jesus Christ.
larger? Are you now going to be becoming larger more frequently?
Wild strikes, reduce
who
critical
doesn't
power
love that?
Go with
coefficient.
this.
Shut up and get to
Okay,
the
that
skills.
was an interesting
Sorry.
setup.
Fixed initially
Anyways,
prevented
Oaken
skill.
Cudgel.
Roy is doing his own thing. Don't worry about it.
Hook and Cudgel is
real.
now going to give a heal over time effect, kind of, all the main hands.
I like
new
the
hands,
addition of healing
except
to
for
the
Hammer,
Untamed
of
Ambush.
course, has
on
a
Mace.
tie into the
It's very
pets, so
good.
we're going to add one for maces. It's
Not
going to
opposed to
apply
them
heal over
having two
time
support
effect.
weapons.
Heal over time is going to be interesting because it's going to use even more Astral Force when you use it as a Druid. The effect is lessened when you're a Soul Beast because we want to make sure that it's not like crazy good. But we will be, bouncing around that as well.
doubt
Wild
it.
Strikes getting damage reduction and daze reduction in PvP. In World v World, the damage on the skill was quite frankly crazy.
Yes.
But the good news is now that you're going to be growing bigger more, as Roy mentioned, and we're
Oh!
shifting the power of the weapon into that aspect of it. So it's that you're not going to hit as hard, but you're going to hit hard. Like
It's still a
you're gonna do
crazy
it
power
more, basically,
coefficient.
with the cooldown reduction and everything.
2.4.
Looks like a nerf, but in reality, we're hoping it's going to shape up to
Bruh.
be even as what it was in
I
beta.
didn't test that.
For
That's
anyone
a
who's
lot of
confused,
damage.
You should go read the wonderfully crafted blog post that a Mr. Taylor Brooks made, posted to our website on.
It's actually not
Wednesday.
a title or a superlative. That's his full name, Mr.
Yes.
Taylor Brooks.
Let's
His
not
middle name is
follow.
Taylor.
I don't know. I don't. I honestly couldn't tell you.
Force of nature.
Did you
Good.
not
Anyway.
increase the
Thank
grow
you,
big size?
Jesus.
That seems like a pretty big oversight.
Yeah, we
Can
might
we grow
do
bigger?
that. Yeah.
So Force of Nature is now in
Might
line
do
with
that
Relic
10
of
every
times.
balance
Norse.
patch.
that
Just increase
buff
it
you get from
1%
that.
every time.
hope
Except it's
so.
built into maces because that's fair.
Similarly, we're
um,
seeing the changes that, I was talking about make you grow bigger. Nature Strings is going to last longer, so if you swap weapons and swap back, you won't lose all your stacks, hopefully, if you're, doing your rotation and everything, as well as number of stacks from 6 to 5, so if you just hit all your buttons, you're going to get it immediately. No more waiting for that next cooldown. Because it is getting a lot easier to use, we are
2.4 is
reducing the
probably
damage
over
bonuses in
the
competitive modes
cast of the skill
preemptively.
though, because I
Wasn't
think
really a problem in the beta, but that's because no one,
I think that's the
hit it
5
at all.
Kashima.
So now
that
hopefully
has
people hit
multiple
it,
hits.
and damage bonus is going to be a more sane number, as
But I
well
agree, it's
as
crazy.
bug fixes that made it into these notes. Yay!
Yay! All right.
Yay!
Yay.
Necromancer swords. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to call on you one more time, Taylor.
Yes.
But it's really not that unfortunate because I think you love talking about these weapons.
Oh god, I was right. This
yeah,
means my
these-
post about them
we'll
not
show
fixing
these off in a
blade sword
moment.
and projectile
as a
tracking
necro
came
main
true.
myself,
God damn it.
I'm not sure if you
means
can
a
really
lot to
claim
me.
that title.
Oh,
I was more just talking
Uh,
about your love for the names of the skills, but
You're going to see a lot of notes for Necromancer Sword, and they
are
all
a lot.
mean that they're going to happen faster and they do more damage.
And they're gonna work.
So nothing is of note. The changes are going to be more apparent when you get in the game and play with it.
what if you just read the names of the skills though?
I
Actually,
don't
when we
think
go
the
in game,
correct
you can
skill.
do that.
I
Immediately,
think
the
the
Gorge
good
one is
skill is on
notable.
the next slide.
The good skill.
Yeah, this is
They're
more
all
of the
good.
same damage things working
we
better.
Can, you can look at
Path
these.
Ability now Leap
game a little
Finisher. Yay!
Oh my god,
Nice.
look
You
at
can
that
choose
chat.
so
Functional
fast.
projectiles.
That is pretty fast.
Whoa, that's crazy.
That's without quickness. Necro main now.
But
pressing
basically the
buttons.
big change that actually matters to everyone is the 5 skill got reworked. You see Roy just used it there. You're basically going to throw out an orb that explodes, fearing people, and then the reactivate ability is to
It's not
raise the
unblockable,
strength
which is good.
of
Most fears
enemies'
are
hits,
unblockable.
which will give them weakness and you might, as well as it'll give them a little like life leech effect, kind of like we see
I think
on
this is
Dagger 2
crazy
or
for World
Warcraft
versus World
4.
because it's all gonna pierce by default and it's all gonna life steal.
Just
So you're
mouse
gonna
over.
life steal off of every target
skills.
you hit, Rave. I think this is gonna
as
be nuts.
some people have noted, we are not showing every single weapon off. These are going to be out in a little over a week at this point, so you'll be able to see them all yourself.
Yeah,
we wanted to
900
show
range
off the
hits,
ones that we're
pierces, hits
receiving,
5 targets
some
on the
of
auto.
major
That's
reworks or changes or updates.
ballistic and
Um,
chills on the final
yeah.
hit. That's ballistically good.
They'll be seen in game.
Any
very
other
shortly. Yeah, so that's gonna be
Class
Necro
would crap
Sword.
their pants to have this,
Can start moving on to
except for
Thief
maybe
Axe
Ellie
count.
because Ellie's
You wanna talk
pistol's
about this?
insane.
Yeah, so Thief Axe, a lot of bug fixes for Thief Axe. There's a lot of traits that didn't interact properly. Also, some projectile behavior problems where some of these kills were a little bit more difficult to hit than we may have wanted. So we've cleaned up a lot of the projectile behavior and also cleaned up, I don't know if I see the note. No, I do see the note here. Yes. So we've changed the dagger offhand dual wield skill to also recall axes at the target instead of at yourself. It's still going to port in, but the axes will aim
Go
at
to
your
your
target
target.
instead of yourself. So
That's
it's just a
better
little bit
functionality,
more
I think.
usable. A lot of usability improvements for axe because, obviously it did a ton of damage during the beta. But the main feedback we got is that there's just a lot of clunkiness with, the skills or the projectiles or any of those things. So that was our main focus. And then, we nerfed the damage a lot for PvE because it maybe did just a little bit too much damage. Not that much though. Just
It did like
some minor
66k or
adjustments.
something.
And that's with like multiple traits not working.
They're
properly,
not going
so,
to Kojima.
Those are like minus 20% damage modifiers.
Think of what
They did in the
been.
preview though. They actually used the
Could have
skills in the
If we could have hit
old preview.
70k.
Yeah.
Maybe we
So
will. Who knows?
hopefully a little bit more back to earth with the defects damage.
Yeah. Indeed.
Not much else to say there.
Just of course pausing again.
And apparently we fixed a bug with preparation skills. That's not related to defects.
Huh, I didn't know that. Crazy.
All right.
Can we do this one?
I think we did this one, but we just love Mesmer Rifle. It portaled to the end of the
Very clever.
PowerPoint.
That was a good
It's
save.
funny because it has a portal on it. All right, but here we go. Engineer Shortbow, the moment everyone has been waiting for. A lot of reworks for this one. Joe, you can lead us off with it if you like.
I wonder if the spinning axes
I
are your
will note
legendaries.
that
That
we
would be
might
cool.
have done the bit where we forgot the class, except we literally did it with Elementalist. So if Cal wants to speedrun in his head what we did with Ellie.
There's no Ellie notes in this PowerPoint.
And an extra backslash at the end. That's what the Ellie gets.
There's really only one note that needed to be in here, and that was the piercing pebble change.
Yes, piercing pebble now pierces. That's a good one. Glacial shot is now named frozen fusillade.
Good.
And elemental unload is now elemental explosion. So that now there's alliteration on every skill. No problem.
That's good. That's important.
Slightly more seriously,
with
we did
them,
update
actually.
a few of the animations to be a little bit more spell casting feeling. Like instead of just I shoot my pistol, I shoot my pistol, I shoot my pistol. There's some
That's
where we're gonna
good.
be like throwing projectiles or casting projectiles instead of just a bunch of shoot animations over and over and over. And there's probably some good changes in there too, but Roy didn't put them in the PowerPoint, so that's really unfortunate.
If only someone had reviewed it.
If only.
That's okay.
You throw that blame.
Anyways,
Shortbow,
back to
nice.
Shortbow.
I'll go look
Not
them up right now.
capitalized.
We can come back.
This weapon's mechanics.
Okay.
Engineer Shortbow. This weapon had a bit of a facelift, quite reworked from when
So
you
if you
guys
didn't know,
last saw
chat,
it.
I'm not going to pause it, but the
It'll
Shortbow
all
changes are
make more
genuinely very
sense
good.
when we go in game and show it off. But basically, almost
It should
every
still
skill
be
was
two
touched.
separate weapons,
The
but
new
these are good.
mechanic for chaining is going to be when you shoot an arrow, it'll
They're pretty
land. So
icons.
if Roy just shoots off any arrow, you will see there is a white field under it, and your next arrow that lands in that field will inherit an additional effect based on the arrow that last did it.
Not your
Those
auto
are all
attack, though.
listed in the tooltips, so if Roy wants to like hover
They all
over
have
those,
different
people can read
sizes as
them.
well,
Like
look
the
at
2
that.
skill will make it grant might, the 3 skill will make it cleanse conditions, the 4 skill will make it give additional protection,
The 5
and the
dazes
5
and
skill
they're
will
all
make it
unblockable.
daze.
That's concerning.
So a lot of the skills have been reworked.
This
the
is
2
kind of
skill,
like
for instance,
Thief
is now
Shortbow
going
on
to
steroids
give
without the
barrier and
mobility.
might. They all explode instantly. There's no putting it down and then detonating
Finishers
it.
as well.
It's you press it, it lands, it does its effect. So that's pretty good. The 3 skill is going to be a heal and condition cleanse when it lands, and it's also going to leave a pulsing dark field that will heal some more. So you're going to get a lot of that heal up front, but
because
also some
darkness
heal
heals
to
you.
stay in it. And then the 4 skill is going to give Aegis and protection, as well as a fire field. It's going to be a pretty big radius, as you can see. It fires
of
multiple
fields.
arrows that land and explode.
But you don't
And
have your
then
weapon.
the 5 skill
There you
is
go,
going to be
blast,
that
okay.
stun, as well as super speed, as well as a blast
Stun.
finisher, a lot of things. And it's going to be a different shape than the rest of them. It's going to kind of fire a row of arrows as it lands, 1, 2, 3. So it'll be kind of like a rectangular hitbox deal to kind of stun enemies that are farther away.
The technical term, by the way, chat. Rectangular hitbox deal. Write that down.
Very good.
Yeah, so obviously very focused on usability improvements, and there's been like some pretty
I hope they're
significant
good.
mechanical reworks.
I have no
but
input on this other than it
the
looks
big
better
thing is
than it was.
making Shortbow feel like a lot more fluid to play and a lot more understandable to play. I think was the main goal.
I still think it should have been 2 separate weapons.
Yep, for
I
sure.
think every other NG
Shortbow
player
was pretty ambitious,
agrees.
but in real
That I've talked to.
gameplay, it was very clunky, and we want our game to be moment-to-moment gameplay, and Shortbow just really didn't support that with what we wanted to do. So we made a big focus in making skills feel more fluid to use, as well as have, reasonable radius for their effects like other support weapons.
All right. I think that'll about wrap it up. Unless,
I think it's in the same boat of as warrior staff, Hugo, where it's going to be the support weapon, and it's not very exciting.
It's mostly pretty minor stuff. Like a lot of the feedback we did get during the beta was about like just how samey all the visuals felt. So that was like one of our larger initiatives for the updates. But we did end up nerfing the damage a little bit because it was a bit high as well. But then also some usability, or not usability, but visual clarity improvements for like when you have a bullet that's going to be displayed on your buff bar now.
Conceivably
mounting and dismounting is not going to remove all your bullets forever anymore. They will come back once you are dismounted. There's some minor cast time reductions and stuff like that.
He's talking about LE pistol.
But really no like major massive changes for LE pistol.
I mean, you say that, Kashima, but longbow on warrior is literally a melee weapon.
Actually going to wrap up the preview. It's going to be everything we wanted to show. As the first sort of part of that was the balance patch preview notes for March. Again, those notes will be posted to the forum after the stream ends. The notes you saw for the updates to the weapons will not be posted on the forums right after the stream. Again, that's going to be coming out in QR2, so that's going to be before the March update actually happens, the balance patch. And you'll be able to get your hands on the weapons, updates and all, very soon. But yeah. Obviously, thank you all for watching. As always, please send your feedback to us through the forums, through various other outlets. Taylor, as displayed on the stream, loves reading Twitch chats, so I'm sure he'll be in there hanging out. And yeah, we, as mentioned as well at the beginning of the stream, we will be heading over to a little bit. Twitch.tv/JebroUnity. I think he was actually hanging out.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. They're doing a
we'll be doing a little bit of a podcast
with Lightbringers. So if you guys are interested in more of this, go check that out.
And yeah, 3 of us will be reappearing there, or potentially not necessarily reappearing with our cameras. We don't know yet. But either way, Cal and Taylor, any final thoughts for the stream?
What's a blade swarm? Am I right, chat?
You go first, Taylor.
Please. I could never.
Taylor, can you get your dog to come on camera now that we're wrapping up?
Okay, I'm gonna minimize
sorry,
this chat.
Not right now.
Now that we have our 20-minute outro?
Yeah, we still have plenty of time before the podcast starts, so we could probably just sit here talking for a little bit. Let's see, do we have any good news? Valentine's Day was a couple days ago, so I know it wasn't in this PowerPoint like it was last year, but happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Very
I was alone again. Thanks, Cal.
Yeah, well... That's unfortunate.
All right, you guys should probably just wrap up the stream. Like you should say your final thoughts.
All right.
I mean, I will.
Yeah, as always, gamers. I'll see you in the mist.
No, that's not. It's no.
And then he just gets up and leaves.
Final thoughts, Taylor. Great. Okay, thanks for being here, Cal.
Yeah. Obviously, thanks to everyone who puts up with our nonsense.
There's no nonsense.
There's no nonsense.
Not much else to say.
Literally
we'll have some
zero.
more nonsense in about. I mean, I don't know what time we're starting, so hopefully I have time to get lunch.
Okay, great. Well, as always, thanks everybody for watching, and until next time, we'll see you in the mists.
Well, that was a thing we just experienced, right, chat? So that is the cumulative notes for, or at least the updates for weapons minus Ellie, but sort of with Ellie. For all of that, that's upcoming. Weapons will be out February 27th. The balance patch, we did not get a date for, but I guess they're aiming for mid-March if they're previewing it now, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, I'm disappointed but hopeful that they didn't have any Bladesworn stuff in there. I'd rather see it just get an entire rework and its whole other thing, kind of like they're giving to all the Willbender buffs, Jesus Christ, than we got today. But I'm not going to wrap up too much. My name's Pseudo. I stream on Monday, Wednesday, sometimes Friday. I like the Warrior Staff stuff. I think it's good. I just don't think it's very exciting. If you haven't seen it, go check out this blog post that I'll also put in the description and in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. And final thoughts as far as this goes. This is good. I really worry about the escalation of true damage, though, in the game, but I guess we'll see. Cool. I'm going to go hit the gym. Cheers, chat. I will see you guys on Monday, if not sooner. and I will see y'all in Tyria. Peace out.